And joining me now from Los Angeles is Caroline Heldman, a Democratic strategist and political scientist. She's also a professor of critical theory and social justice at Occidental College. Caroline, it's always wonderful to see you.
Good to see you, Paulo.
It's always great to have your company and analysis, one election night after another, as the numbers continue to change. So let's start with your initial take and your initial reaction as we continue to see numbers coming in.
Well, it seems pretty clear that the Democratic Socialist wave that was expected tonight is not happening, right? We saw the polling for Dr. El Sayed way ahead. It was not supposed to be this close between this centrist, Haley Stevens, and the Democratic Socialist candidate. But we're also seeing mixed results in other states, right? In Missouri, we saw that Cori Bush tried to regain her seat as a Democratic Socialist and was unable to do so. There are a couple of other races that are very close, but for folks who were expecting the progressive wing of the Democratic Party to sweep tonight, that just didn't happen.
And to your earlier point, I mean, because the gap was expected to be so much wider, and now we're seeing this narrow margin, I mean, do you think that that's telling about sort of the deep divisions within the party? And if so, once we find out who moves on and wins, Tuesday's contest, how does the party then coalesce again?
Well, Paulo, this is really a struggle for the soul of the Democratic Party that we've seen over the past few years. We actually have seen the progressive wing of the Democratic Party do relatively well, right? We have the mayor in New York City, the mayor in Seattle, the mayor in Washington, D.C. But at the end of the day, progressives may do well in certain parts in Democratic strongholds, but the question is whether or not they do well against, in the general primary, right, up against Republican candidates. And I will tell you that the Donald Trump-backed candidate, Mike Rogers in Michigan, chomping at the bit to get El Sayed as his opponent. He would much rather prefer him. He can paint him, with this new lens that's coming up of the socialists lens that Donald Trump has been applying and the Republican Party have been applying. So they would love to go up against progressive candidates. And in many cases, they will get that opportunity if it's a Democratic stronghold.
Either Abdul El Sayed or Haley Stevens, in your view, which one of these candidates could make achieving that unity perhaps a little easier compared to the other?
Well, it's been such a bloody battle in Michigan, but I really do think that it represents a much broader schism within the Democratic Party, much to do over what is happening in Gaza, right? And so you saw AIPAC, the pro-Israel PAC, really getting behind Haley Stevens, a lot of just brutal barbs back and forth during this primary. I think both of these candidates, whoever wins tomorrow, I would imagine that they're going to turn around and immediately try to bring the party together, because that's really the only hope going against, a Trump-endorsed Republican candidate.
Do you think these two candidates could potentially appear together on the campaign trail leading up to November?
Oh, yes. I would imagine that they would be doing that. Maybe, the tense feelings. I mean, if anyone who's worked on a campaign, you have to bury those down deep. But yes, I would imagine that they will come together like that, because if you look at the path for Democrats in the Senate, they need to gain 4 seats. That does not include Michigan. They have to hold on to this Michigan seat because it's being vacated by a Democrat. And so the path to taking control of the Senate for Democrats really runs through the Midwest, through these states that Donald Trump was able to take back in the 2024 election. And we know in Michigan in particular, Kamala Harris lost by 1.4 percentage points as Donald Trump took that state back. And that had much to do with the progressive wing being very critical of the stance of the Biden administration, including Kamala Harris's stance in 2024. So all roads lead through Michigan when it comes to Democrats taking the Senate.
Caroline, I wonder if we can close with voter turnout out of Michigan. It does appear to be impressive. I see here that once all the results are in, that the numbers could potentially either approach or surpass that record 1.5 million votes back in 2020. Obviously, high turnout doesn't necessarily tell us everything about what we can expect come November. But just considering those numbers alone, I mean, does it speak to the energy among Michigan Democrats, especially progressives in that state?
I think it does. And I think it's very clear to Michiganders that this is a national contest, right? While it might be a focus on their particular state, and obviously they're the only folks going to the polls, they know the national implications of this. So I think it bodes well for the Democratic Party that you have such high turnout in the primary. I expect to see a pretty high turnout, if not historic turnout, in the upcoming elections in November, given what's at stake. When you look at the enthusiasm numbers, Democrats are far above Republicans, mostly I think because Donald Trump's approval ratings are so low, right around 34%, and about 63% of Americans think that we're headed in the wrong direction. It's hard to get your folks to turn out to the polls with such low support or favorability ratings at the top. Not an issue on the Democratic side.
Yeah, and again, just to show our viewers, with 93% of some of those precincts reporting, only 20,000 votes, roughly 20,000 votes, separating Abdul El-Sayed and Haley Stevens. 4 a.m. there in Detroit. Clearly, though, those numbers continue to be counted. Caroline Heldman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Polo.